So, you're looking to buy a house and you don't know how much of a house you can afford. Have you gotten a pre-approval yet? What's pre-approval? I can help you with that. Today, we are talking all things pre-approval. Don't forget to like and subscribe right down below because I make a new video every single week. You're gonna wanna get notified. And my contact information is down there. So if you're coming here, if you have questions, or if you need help buying a house, do not hesitate to reach out, give me a call, shoot me a text. I love talking to people. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, my little old awesome channel, in my opinion, of course. So today, we're talking about pre-approval. And this is actually a big question that I get right in the very beginning of talking to first-time home buyers, especially what they need to do to get started. Before they even look at houses, I always say, hey, you need to get a pre-approval. And there's so many reasons for that, which we will go into in detail. But the main reason why you need to get a pre-approval, it's because it really shows you what amount of house you can afford, what your price range is, how much money you are going to be able to get from a lender. So let's jump right in it. What is a pre-approval? So a pre-approval is a lender's conditional agreement to lend you a specific amount of money for the purchase of a home. So what's the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification? They're basically similar, very similar, both actually steps of the home buying process, but a pre-qualification is less in depth. It's basically where you give a lender some information. I make so much money, they may not even check your credit, and just from the information they give you without an in-depth analysis, they give you an idea of what you could afford. So for example, if you made $80,000 a year and you worked as a firefighter and you said, hey lender, I'm a really cool firefighter and I make $80,000 a year. Some firefighters out there are gonna be like, what? But the lender would then take that information and say, hey, if you do indeed make this much money and you have this job, I could probably give you this much to buy a home. But they're not gonna necessarily check your credit, they're not going to go in depth. So there's no guarantee there. A pre-approval is a whole different beast. With the pre-approval, the lender's gonna conduct an in-depth, basically financial discovery on what you make and how often you make it and how long you've made it. So they're gonna do a credit check. They're gonna look into your past taxes. They're going to look at your bank statements, possibly your pay stubs. So they're going to do an in-depth dig of how much money you make, how many assets you have, how many debts you have, and from that, they're going to tell you, hey, I can loan you this much money, you can buy a house that is this much. And while going through that process, they can also tell you how much of a mortgage payment you'll be paying. So let's go back to the beginning and let's walk through the steps of a pre-approval, and this will really show you how important it is to have before you look at a house, because that way you don't set yourself up for failure. Okay, here we go, step one. So step one is gather your documents. So this will really take the headache out of everything if you get those documents together before you even talk to a lender. So what you're going to need is, for example, like a W-2 or a W-9 or a 1099, basically proof that you filed your taxes and the IRS isn't out to get you. And then any proof of income, so pay stubs, paychecks, anything like that. You'll probably also need printed out statements from your bank statements or anything that shows that you have assets. So if you have stocks, if you have bonds, anything shows that you have things of worth in this world monetarily, you'll want to have those documents available. You'll also want to have any documentation or amounts of debts that you owe. So for example, if you have a car payment, know exactly how much that car payment is, because the lender will definitely want that information. Another thing that you'll need is employment verification. So for example, this could be a pay stub. Obviously that would be your employment verification. But if you have an interesting job where you only get paid a certain amount of times, you may need a letter from your employer saying, hey, this person regularly works. This happens a lot with people who are, for example, traveling nurses. They have steady employment, but they don't work for one specific employer. They travel around and they work for different hospitals. So basically, you just want to provide proof that you make money somehow. Things like that. And then the next thing that you would just want to make sure is that you know your credit score. And this is as easy as just going to Credit Karma and seeing what your score is, because very often you can raise your score number very easily by just possibly paying down some debt, paying off credit card, or you may have something that you owe that's on there that you didn't even see, that someone sent, a medical bill for $27 and it went to collections and you didn't even know about it. And just by getting rid of it, you can raise your score. And a raised credit score can make a big difference when it comes to what interest rate a lender is gonna give you. Okay, so we have our documents, we have our past taxes, we have our proof of income, we have our proof of any other payments that we get or make. Have all that ready. Next thing you need to do is you need to choose a lender. And so this can also be very overwhelming. I would say ask your real estate agent who they like, or ask your friends who they like. So I really like a local lender personally. There's one in town that I use very often. His name is Jared Jones. He's great, but I prefer a small local lender. Someone in Missouri where I can literally call them or go to their office and be like, hey, I have a question about blah, blah, blah. And then they're there and they answer my questions, versus using a large corporation type lender where you're just a itty bitty cog in a really big machine. So that's my personal preference. I also recommend to quite a few of my clients to get multiple quotes from more than one lender, because then they can see if the lender they go with is really giving them a good rate or just blowing smoke up there, you know what. I probably shouldn't have said that. Oh well, whatever. My video, I do what I want. So, love local lenders, shop around, find someone that you feel comfortable with, because this is someone who's going to be helping you negotiate a very large purchase in your life. So you want to go with someone that, one, has great communication, and two, you feel comfortable with, and three, you can tell that they're knowledgeable and they know what they're talking about, and they know all the tips and tricks that could help you. For example, a lender, like I was saying, Jared Jones, that I use quite a bit, we tend to work quite a few seller's concessions and interest rate buy downs and things like paying for a fence, little things like that into our contracts, because he's so knowledgeable about what he does. So find a good lender. That's step 2. Now step 3 is the big one. You actually have to submit your application. So this is the headache. This is the part that everyone hates, because it's paperwork and everyone hates to do paperwork. But once you find one or two or more lenders that you want to possibly work with, you're gonna have to fill out the application online or go there in person and fill it out. Bring all of your documents. This can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes if you're prepared, or up to an hour if you're not. Once you submit that application, that's where the lender can then take everything that they receive from you and start that pre-approval. Now, if they're a good lender and if all of your documents are available, there's a very good chance that they could get you a pre-approval within 24 to 48 hours. So this doesn't have to be some long drawn out process, but it's always good to do it early. Now, you might wonder, and this is the big question I get, why should I get a pre-approval if I don't even know what house I want to buy? Well, one, that's a really good question, but the answer is the pre-approval lets you know how much of a house you can buy. So the main point of it is, for example, I've had clients in the past who have wanted, they want a 4 to 5 bedroom house. They want it in a very specific neighborhood. They want a walkout basement. They want all updated appliances, this and that, but they weren't sure how much money the bank would actually give them, or they didn't know how much of a mortgage payment that would be. So if you get a pre-approval, for example, you go to the bank, they say, okay, we can pre-approve you after seeing your income, seeing your debt, seeing how much you have. We'll pre-approve you for $300,000. And then your interest rate will be approximately this. They can't lock that in right away. You can take that information and ask the lender, hey, if I have a $300,000 mortgage and I'm not putting anything down, for example, if you're using a VA loan or a USDA loan where you have zero money down, how much is my payment gonna be every month? My principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, that's what makes up a mortgage payment. If you didn't know that, watch my other videos. And your lender, or if you have a good real estate agent, can tell you exactly, hey, your mortgage payment is going to be approximately this. Or more specifically, for a $300,000 house purchased with a VA loan where you put no money down at about the current interest rate right now, which is about 6.5% on a 30-year fixed rate, meaning that rate will stay the same for 30 years, you're looking at a mortgage payment of $1,900 plus taxes and insurance. So you're really looking about, I would say, $2,150 to $2,200 depending upon the taxes and insurance on that house. So you then know, okay, so if I want a $300,000 house, my payment's gonna be anywhere between $2,100 and $2,200 per month. Okay, I can't afford that, or no, I can't afford that. So that kind of really gives you an idea, and that's why it's so important for someone to have a pre-approval, because you don't want to show someone a house that's out of their price range. And I have done this before, and I tell you what, it was horrible because I made this mistake early in my career. I had clients who had not gotten pre-approved. They told me what they were looking for. They told me what they thought they could afford. So I showed them houses at a much higher price range. And then when they went to actually get pre-approved, they realized, oh my gosh, we can't afford this house. And the houses they could afford are now, I mean, if you go look at, you know, a Cahill house or a mansion, and then you go look at a, you know, starter home that's a split level that's like half the size and half the cost, you're gonna feel kind of bad, like, oh man, that walk-in closet was as big as my garage and now I have to go to this. So that's really the mistake and the trap that you can fall into by not getting a pre-approval. You'll set yourself up for failure unintentionally by seeing something that you can't afford. And here's another thing to think about. So just because you can't afford or get pre-approved for what you want right now does not mean that you can't buy a perfectly awesome house in a price range that you can afford and you can easily and happily make payments on. And then when the rates go down, or in a couple years, you know, 2 to 10 years, when you pay that mortgage off and you gain equity in your house, you can't resell it and upgrade. That's what I do with a lot of my clients, actually. So I really hope the takeaway from this video is that it is very, very important to get pre-approved before you start looking at houses if possible, because that way you are fully aware of what your mortgage payment, what your principal payment, your interest, your taxes and insurance approximately will be in the price range that you're looking for, so that there's no surprises and there's no heartbreak if you see something then later realize that you can't afford it. I would rather find awesome deals in price ranges for my clients that they are happy and comfortable paying than show someone something that is too hard to make or out of their reach. So pre-approvals, absolute must. I tell every single one of my clients, hey, first step of buying a home, let's get you a pre-approval. There you have it, folks. I hope that you have liked my video. I hope it was somewhat informative or at least entertaining. And I hope that you like and subscribe right down below, because I make a new video every single week all about Warrensburg, Missouri, houses, and just everything going on in this state. And if you are moving here, if you have any questions, if you are looking to buy or sell a home and you need a good realtor, boop, do not hesitate to reach out, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I really do love talking to people. See you later.